In this video on the use of Turnitin for constructive feedback, I'll be looking at checking your originality score. In the last one, I talked you through how you can submit your work to Turnitin. And in this particular video, we'll be focusing on checking your originality score. So like I mentioned in the previous video, you should have completed your coursework or your essay using all the resources you pulled together. And after that, you need to locate on your virtual learning platform where your course is, the one where you want to submit the piece of coursework to. And then in this case, I'm using test account, but it's going to be either maybe essay submission or coursework submission, or whatever name your tutor decides to give to the piece of coursework. Then you click on edit submission, because this is where you want to actually submit your file to. If you look at submission status, it's blank, grading status blank, last modified, everything here is empty because you have not yet uploaded any piece of coursework. So you click on edit submission and you see important notices, like the first one is if you choose to resubmit your paper, your earlier submission will be replaced and a new report will be generated after 3 submissions. You will need to wait 24 hours after a resubmission to see a new similarity report. So this is the way I set up this account. You need to understand the way your particular account has been set up. And that means you have to have that conversation with your lecturer, asking them, is 2 submissions allowed? Is resubmission allowed, at the first instance? Otherwise, you cannot resubmit. However, if resubmission is allowed, then you want to know how many times can I resubmit. For this particular exercise, I have made 3 submissions possible. Again, you observe that there is a checkbox here, and this has to do with you stating basically that this piece of coursework is yours, and that, okay, it says the assignment is my work except where I have acknowledged the use of the works of others. That is with respect to in-text citations, which you must reference as well, or I'm making a group submission. That again is possible depending on how this platform has been set up. So the way it's been set up, this is going to take a maximum file size of 20 megabytes and can take up to 20 files. Again, it depends on how it's been set up. In my last video, it was 2 files and then 2 megabytes. So it depends on how your lecturer sets it up. So you're going to click on this. This basically is where you want to import your document through, and after that you save changes. So for now, you click on this, and then it takes you to the file picker where you're going to upload a file. At this point, you're going to click on browse, and then the author name is going to come. It's going to pick up, to show that you are the one actually uploading this piece of coursework. And after that, you will click on the upload this file. So now, if you hit on browse, it will tell you no file selected if you try to save, without selecting a file. So now you hit on browse, and then it takes you to where you can actually upload your files in your computer. For this particular one, I want to use this document, Exploring Nigerian Postgraduate Students' Experience of Plagiarism, a Phenomenographic Study. Okay, so if I click on this file now, it pulls it up into the system. And then you find out that now there is a file, and I can now click on upload. Okay, previously when I tried to click on upload this file without a file being there, it generated an error. But now if I've pulled this in like I've done now, and I click on upload this file, it pulls in the file. Okay, so the file is now in the system, ready to be submitted. Okay, remember, it's not up to 20 meg, so I don't have a problem. It's just 1 file, not 20 files. But I could still pull in more files if I wanted to, because I have up to 20 file capacity here in this setup. The other thing I need to also consider before saving changes is the fact that I must check this box to say this assignment is my own work, except where I've acknowledged the use of the works of others or I'm making a group submission. Okay, so this is the work I'm attesting to, the fact that it's my work. So I must click on this. So once I click this checkbox, then I'm ready to save changes. So if I click on Save Changes now, all the spaces that had nothing in the past, they now have things we can now refer to. So now the submission status is submitted for grading. Grading status is not marked. Last modified is Wednesday 22nd January 2020, and the time I submitted, 5:05 p.m. Then file submissions now has the name of a file, okay, and the time I submitted. So this submission date and time is really important, because when your lecturers set up, this platform on your VLE, the Turnitin would have been set up to have a cutoff time and a deadline. So if you submit after the deadline or cutoff time, then it's going to pick it up here and it could be an issue later on. So at this point, it's queued up in the Turnitin. So the status for Turnitin is queued. So it says do not attempt to modify or resubmit after the due date. Okay, so if your due date is 22nd of January, then do not resubmit again, even though you're submitting by 5:05 p.m. and perhaps the deadline or cutoff time is 12 midnight. Still do not resubmit, because doing so will result in your assignment being marked as late if it's after the due date. Okay, so if you submit, say 23rd instead of 22nd, it's going to be marked as late. So this is just flagging it up to let you know. All right, and then again, if you resubmit, let's say maybe 10 p.m., you will have a problem. You will have a problem not because it's late, but because the originality score you're going to get is going to be much higher. In fact, it's going to match the one you submitted by 5:05 p.m. So you'll be getting something like 100% match, except if you made changes to the one you submitted by 5:05 p.m. If you have any questions, please ask me in the comments and I'm going to respond to you. Okay? So once you're happy with your submission, you save it and move on. So these are the things I was talking about. Do not attempt to modify or resubmit after the due date. And then you observe, the change in status for each of these. Now, it's not been marked yet. Once it's marked, you'll see your actual marks reflected here. Okay, if you check this, you will see that after I refreshed, the time is still 5:05 p.m. The date is still 22nd of January 2020, and the similarity score has been picked up as 8%. So this tells you that if you submit on time, for this particular piece, assuming the deadline is 23rd of January, and then I choose to submit 22nd, not many people are submitting at this point in time. So it takes less than a minute to generate the originality score. And that is what you want, to be able to submit, say a day or two before the deadline, have an idea of what the issues could be, and then use that as formative feedback to work on your submission again, have better learning of what you've written, rewrite them, re-paraphrase them, and then submit finally. So at this point, it's 8% similarity score. And the next video is now going to talk about what that number actually means. In summary, we've looked at how you can submit your work through Turnitin, and how you can check the originality score, which is what I've showed to you. And the question now is, what does this number actually mean? 8% similarity, 80% similarity, 40% similarity. Is there a number that is acceptable? That is the big question. I've come across students who tell me, oh, my lecturer, they'd say 20% is acceptable. Is that okay? Well, I can't say yes or no, because the question really is, what is the meaning of the number? And that is what the next video actually will focus on. So stay tuned. In the next video, I'm going to talk you through understanding your originality score. What is the meaning of that number? Thank you.